More than 6,500 coral-eating crown-of-thorns starfish have been removed from Cook Islands reefs since 2020 when the outbreak occurred. The starfish, called taramea in Cook Islands Māori, have decimated the country's reefs in the past. Divers, mainly in Rarotonga, have been controlling the numbers for the last 3 years as part of Operation Taramea. Marine biologist Dr. Tēnā Rongo, who's leading the removal of the starfish, speaks with Caleb Fotheringham.
What's the problem with taramea?
So we've had 2 outbreaks of taramea. The first was in the 1970s. That's the first time ever recorded, as we know, here in the Cook Island. And that was during a Pacific-wide outbreak as well. So Australia was having an outbreak, French Polynesia. That was the first outbreak. And then we had another outbreak in the 1990s, from mid-1990s up onto until the 2000s. Both outbreaks took around 7 years to completely decimate the corals on the reefs on Rarotonga.
Wow, and when the reefs were decimated, what did that mean for the local community?
Yeah, as we know, corals are very important in terms of providing shelter for the fish, but it also keeps problems away like fish poisoning, which is a huge problem here in the Cook Islands and other Pacific Island countries because it's a neurotoxin that affects people from eating reef fish, and it can potentially lead to mortality. So the consequences of the taramea outbreak, not only in terms of killing the reefs, but then it leads to the loss of resources, the loss of revenue that people could make from selling fish and what have you. It extends beyond just the reef dying.
So how do taramea result in fish poisoning?
So when the reef is degraded or when the reef is killed, it provides a place for seaweed, your algae to grow, and the microscopic organisms that produce the toxins lives on these seaweeds. So it just provides more place for these microscopic seaweed that produce the toxin to live. And so, having a dead reef increases the probability of poisoning happening.
Right, that makes sense. And are the crown of thorns starfish, are they native to Rarotonga?
Yeah, they occur naturally in waters, but in very low numbers. There's suggestion that these outbreak numbers are a result of land-based development, particularly around nutrients entering the marine environment from land. And this is leading to outbreaks. But before that, when development wasn't a problem and nutrient wasn't much a problem, the crown of thorn numbers are in low numbers, and they play a role in that environment. They maintain biodiversity by keeping the numbers of the population of the more dominant corals down to allow others to come through. So maintaining biodiversity.
Right, so does that mean at the moment in Rarotonga there's a problem with too much sediment getting into the ocean?
Yeah, as we know that there's a lot more tourists here, there's more development to cater for the tourists. So a lot of hotels being built, and so a lot of the nutrients from leaky sewage, septic tanks, and things like that, agriculture development and what have you, loading nutrients into the marine environment. Crown of thorns at an early stage of their life cycle, they feed on plants, and these plants are fed by the nutrients that come off the land. So you have a lot of nutrients, you increase the chance of the baby taramea surviving. And then when they're in an outbreak situation, they just come in numbers. They start in the deep and they move up into the shallower parts of the reef that they pretty much kill from the deep to the shallow. So what we've been doing is we've been able to control the taramea and keeping them deep. So people are not aware that this problem is occurring because they're not seeing it, because we dive at depths from 15 meters and deeper. So most people on the island have not seen a taramea before. So because they're not coming into the lagoon, so it's not a problem to them. So, we're doing our best to keep it out into the deeper waters and grow their numbers.
So how are you doing that? Are you diving with tanks on?
Yeah, so when we began the operation, we were doing it free diving, and later on we started using scuba diving when numbers started coming down. Free diving because you can cover a much larger area, and switched to using scuba tanks because they're hiding. So we need to spend a lot more time looking for them, and it's hard to do that with free diving.
And have you noticed since starting this that the numbers have decreased or at least stayed steady?
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers declined, but all of this work, it's because we're also studying them. It helped us understand the behaviors of this animal. But through this operation, we've been able to bring on board young people through our scuba certification programs. So they get certified and then they participate in the operation. They can say that they're, actually doing something to help save the reef.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention the young people involved in this. Has this created a bit of enthusiasm for keeping the reefs in the Cook Islands healthy?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. A lot of these kids that have come through our program and have participated in our Taramea operation, they all want to be marine biologists or at least environmental science, to those career pathways, which is really good for us, considering that the Cook Island ocean is really important, especially now with the impact of climate change and other ocean developments that are on the horizon. We need more of our young people, of our people to go into these areas of marine, particularly the technical areas. So through these programs and through the Operation Taramea, it's a place for us, to establish that interest in these areas.